The day after the commercial dough sheeter crushed my hand, my cousin took my spot in the training program at the local radio station. As I lay on the hospital bed, sobbing, muffling into the sheets, my brother, Ethan, gently rubbed my back. "Don't be scared, Maya. I'll take care of you." A month later, my cousin became a celebrated local radio personality, while I was left to live a life of shame and insecurity over my maimed hand. It wasn't until much later that I learned my injury was no accident. Reborn into this moment, I lurched backward. My brother, who had been tripping toward me, missed his target and crashed to the floor. Crack! His back slammed hard against the steel table holding the dough sheeter. As he fell, his foot snagged the power cord on the floor. The machine's deafening roar died instantly. I took another shaky step back, a cold sweat breaking out across my skin as an uncontrollable tremor ran through my body. Ethan lay on the ground, groaning in pain. After a long moment, he slowly pushed himself into a sitting position. He looked up at me, a fake, strained smile plastered on his face. "Maya, thank God you're okay." You scared me." I stammered, my voice trembling. He must have thought I was just shaken by his fall. He got to his feet and said in a soothing voice, "I'm fine, just lost my footing for a second. Come on, plug the machine back in. Let's get back to work." "Ow, my stomach suddenly hurts," I said, bending over and clutching my abdomen, my face twisted in pain. "It's bad. I need to use the restroom right now." Without waiting for a response, I turned and ran. I didn't stop until I reached a deserted alleyway behind the pizzeria. Leaning against the cold brick wall, my legs trembled so violently I could barely stand. Tears streamed down my face, hot against my chilled skin. I could hear my own heartbeat, a frantic, heavy drum against my ribs. It was so close. If I hadn't moved in time, my life would have followed the exact same tragic path as before. It was the summer of 1978. I was 10 years old. Our small town of Havenwood was devastated by a flash flood that wiped out half the community. My parents died in that flood. From then on, it was just me and my brother, Ethan, against the world. Ethan brought me here to Riverbend. He took any job he could find, doing whatever it took to make money. He finally saved enough to open a small pizzeria. That little shop was what kept a roof over our heads and food on our table. It was what paid for me to finish high school. Because I was the main announcer for our school's radio club, I landed a coveted spot in the training program for on-air personalities at the Riverbend radio station right after graduation. If I completed the training, I would become a real radio host with a full-time job, a career, a future. In my last life, the day before my training was set to begin, I was helping out at the pizzeria just like any other day. Ethan was moving a 50-pound bag of flour when he accidentally stumbled and fell toward me. The force of his body slammed me forward. My right hand, which was guiding a sheet of dough, was shoved directly into the powerful rollers of the sheeter. My 4 fingers were pulverized into a bloody pulp, mingling with the pale dough, which the machine calmly pressed into a perfectly uniform, blood-red sheet. The world went black as a wave of excruciating pain washed over me. When I woke up, I was in a county hospital. My right hand was swathed in bandages, but I knew. Only my thumb remained. The other 4 fingers were gone forever. The doctor looked at me with pity in his eyes and shook his head. "Such a shame. A lovely young girl like you." I buried my face in the scratchy hospital blanket and howled. I couldn't accept it. I was a cripple. I was only 18, just out of high school. My new life was supposed to start tomorrow. My future, everything I had dreamed of, was over before it even had a chance to begin. Faced with my bottomless grief, Ethan either stayed silent or sighed heavily. "Maya, don't you worry about a thing," he'd said. "I'll take care of you for the rest of your life." He paused, then added, "That training spot at the radio station, you should let Ashley have it. It's not like you can go now anyway." And so, a month later, my cousin, Ashley Evans, completed the program and became a popular local host. I, on the other hand, was trapped for the rest of my life by the shame of my disfigured hand, so self-conscious I never even dated. Then, at 40, I was diagnosed with breast cancer. As I was dying, Ashley came to visit me in the hospital. By then, she was a successful news anchor in Philadelphia, with a perfect marriage and a thriving career. She stood beside my withered, bedridden form, dressed in a designer suit, looking down at me with unconcealed contempt. "Maya, you look so pathetic," she said. "So, I'll be nice and tell you a little secret. It was Ethan," she sneered. "He did it to your hand on purpose." "No, my brother would never hurt me." I denied it instantly. "You really are that naive, aren't you? I wanted that spot at the radio station, too. Your dear brother chose to help me get it by hurting you. Why else do you think the first thing he did after your accident was tell you to give the spot to me? Did you really never suspect a thing?" Her words hit me with the force of a physical blow. I gasped, and a mouthful of blood splattered onto the white hospital sheets. For 22 years, I had lived with my brother. I helped him run the business, helped him save enough money to get married, and then helped raise his son. Because of my disability, I spent every day walking on eggshells, trying to please them, terrified they would get tired of me and see me as a burden. I cooked, I cleaned, I did everything for their family of 3. All along, I was grateful that my brother hadn't abandoned me, that he had given me a place to stay. But it was all a lie. I never had to suffer any of it. The brother I had depended on for over 2 decades was the one who had orchestrated my entire miserable life. He was the author of my 22 years of pain. Tears traced paths down my gaunt cheeks. Ashley just shook her head with fake sympathy. TSK. Poor, pitiful Maya. It wasn't enough that you got your parents killed, but even your own brother can't stand you. No, that's not how it happened. I tried to argue, but just then, the hospital room door swung open. Ethan walked in. He looked at me, his eyes filled with a cold, undisguised disgust. Still hanging on, huh? His words were like a bucket of ice water, extinguishing the last spark of warmth in my heart. I opened my mouth, but before I could make a sound, my last breath escaped me. When I opened my eyes again, I was back. Back on the day it happened. Ethan was walking toward me, hoisting a bag of flour. Since fate has given me a second chance, I'm going to cherish it. I have to get out of here. I have to start a new life. After my heart stopped pounding, I found my high school classmate, Sarah Jenkins. She was in the radio club with me, but there were only 2 spots in the training program. I remembered how long she cried when she found out she didn't make the cut. Sarah, I said, finding her at her house, I want to sell you my spot in the training program. Are you interested? Her eyes went wide with disbelief and joy. How much? $500, I said. If you get the job after, you'll be making close to $2,000 a month. Okay, let me ask my mom. Sarah's parents both worked at the bank. Their family was well off. $500 was manageable for them. Sure enough, she came back out 5 minutes later, cash in hand. Here. My mom said yes. I took the money and handed her the official letter and entry pass for the program. As I left, I added, don't tell anyone about this. It could look bad for you later on. Don't worry, I get it, she said, then hesitated. But Maya, your voice is perfect for radio. Why aren't you going? I gave her a bitter smile. My family needs the money. With the cash safely in my pocket, I returned to the pizzeria. Ashley was there, buzzing around the shop, helping Ethan. They were laughing and talking, looking for all the world like they were the real siblings. Before all this, Ethan had been so good to me. He always said I was his only family, the most important person to him in the world. In my last life, I was in such a deep depression after my injury that I never noticed anything was off. But this time, seeing it all again from an outsider's perspective, I realized it was obvious. Ethan's attitude toward me changed the moment Ashley came to live with us. Maybe she was just more likable than me. I walked in, head down, interrupting their laughter. What took you so long in the bathroom? Ashley's done almost all your prep work for you, Ethan said, his voice sharp with impatience. Ethan, don't say that to Maya. Ashley chimed in, pretending to defend me. I know her aunt and uncle are gone, but you've always spoiled her. It's only natural she's a little delicate. Her words were poison wrapped in sugar, designed to make me look lazy and entitled. It worked. I saw Ethan's jaw tighten as he slammed a ball of dough onto the counter. He shot me a furious glare, but didn't say anything else. Business is slow now anyway, he said after a moment. Maya, take this money and go pick up a bucket of chicken. We'll close up after we sell this last batch and have a nice dinner at home. Okay. The line at the fried chicken place was long. It took me over half an hour to get served. By the time I walked back to our small apartment, carrying the warm bucket, I saw the front door was slightly ajar. Ethan and Ashley were already home. As I reached for the doorknob, I heard Ashley's voice. Ethan, do you really think Maya will just agree to give me her spot in the radio program? I froze, my hand hovering over the door, and held my breath to listen. My mistake this morning, Ethan said, his voice low and hard. Don't worry. If I have to, I'll snatch that spot from her for you tonight. But won't Maya resent you for it? I've worked my ass off to raise her. Why does she have to resent me? Besides, if it wasn't for her, my parents and your mom and little brother wouldn't be dead. She killed all those people. Ashley's voice, now thick with false sorrow, echoed his words. This is what she owes you. It's time she paid you back. When Ethan mentioned her mother, Ashley's tone dropped. Honestly, I stopped blaming Maya a long time ago. She was just a little kid. It's normal she was scared. A roar filled my ears, drowning out everything else. I spun around and stumbled to the stairwell, gripping the railing for support as Ethan's words echoed in my mind. If it wasn't for her, my parents wouldn't be dead. I think I finally understood. I understood all these years. He believed I was the one who killed our parents. If that was the case, then maybe if I could just explain what really happened, our relationship could go back to the way it was. Maybe I wouldn't have to leave to be all alone. Yes, it had to work. I turned and walked back to the door, pushing it open. Ethan, I forced a smile, trying to suppress the frantic beating of my heart. What took you so long? Ashley already made dinner. You're always looking for a way to be lazy, aren't you? Right. I mumbled, my mind elsewhere. Normally, a comment like that would have stung. I put the bucket of chicken on the table and looked up to see Ethan walking toward me, carrying a steaming bowl of soup. Maya, this is for you. I reached out to take it, but in the exact instant my fingers were about to close around the bowl, he let go. A full bowl of scalding hot soup cascaded over my hands. I screamed, tears instantly flooding my eyes from the searing pain. As I yanked my hands back, the bowl crashed to the floor, shattering and sending sharp fragments skittering across the linoleum. One of them sliced open my calf. Maya, I'm so sorry, I lost my grip. I thought you had it, Ethan said, rushing to my side with a look of panic. Quick, run it under cold water. I lifted my head to speak, but my eyes caught sight of Ashley, standing just behind him. A triumphant smirk was playing on her lips. So this was planned too. They wanted to use this accident, this burn, as another excuse to make me give my training spot to Ashley. Suddenly, I didn't want to explain anything anymore. The thought of having to plead my case to the brother who had repeatedly tried to harm me was somehow more painful than the injuries themselves. A complex storm of emotions, betrayal, grief, love. Maya, get your hand under the faucet. I'll run to the pharmacy and get you some iodine and burn cream, Ethan said, already heading for the door. He ran out, leaving me alone in the apartment with Ashley. A fiery pain radiated from the back of my hand, where several large, clear blisters were already beginning to form. I turned off the tap and stared at Ashley, my eyes cold. Why did you lie to my brother? What? She looked at me, feigning confusion. My parents died, trying to save you. Why did you tell Ethan it was my fault? A flash of panic crossed Ashley's face. You remember? In August of 1978, after days of relentless rain, the old earthen dam upstream gave way in the middle of the night, sending a wall of water surging through our town. My uncle was on duty at the lumber mill with Ethan that night, so it was just my dad leading the rest of us toward higher ground. You were the one who slipped and fell. I said, the memory's now crystal clear. Dad went back for you. You panicked, and you used his back as a stepping stone to scramble up that old oak tree. You pushed his head underwater, and he never came back up. You wasted all our time. That's why the flood caught up to us. You're the one who got everyone killed. But you twisted the story and told my brother it was me, using it as an excuse to steal my future. Ashley, why would you do this to me? After Ashley had climbed to safety, my mom had tried desperately to save my dad, but the water was already up to her chest. In a moment she was swept away, she held me tight in her arms. The next day, I woke up on the side of a road in the next town over. Thanks to my mother's protection, I was unharmed. But my mother, my aunt, and my infant cousin in her arms, they didn't survive. The trauma must have been so great that my mind buried the memory. Later, whenever Ethan asked me how our parents died, I could never remember. It wasn't until my last life, when I was on my deathbed, that my entire life began to play out in my mind like a movie. Only then did I remember the real reason my parents were gone. Ha ha ha! Ashley suddenly burst out laughing. Why, Maya? Why were your parents willing to die for you? While my own mother only thought about saving my baby brother, ignoring me completely when I screamed for help. Yes, your uncle saved my life, she spat, her face contorted with jealousy. But you lost your parents, and Ethan still loved you, didn't he? Me? A year later, my dad remarried, had another son, and completely forgot he ever had a daughter. Why did you get all the love while I got nothing? I wanted your brother. I wanted your job. I wanted to take everything from you. I wanted my life to be better than yours, so I could stand up high and look down on you. So that was it. The immense malice she had for me was born from simple, rotten jealousy. And in my last life, she got exactly what she wanted. I sighed, but before I could speak, Ashley grinned. So what if you remember? You still can't win against me. With that, she snatched a large shard of the broken ceramic bowl from the floor and dragged it viciously across her own arm, creating a deep, bleeding gash. Just then, the front door opened. Ethan rushed in. Ashley, what happened? You're hurt. Ethan, don't blame Maya, she sobbed. She didn't mean to cut me. Maya, Ethan roared, hurling the tube of burn cream he was holding at me. "I'll deal with you when I get back." Then he turned to Ashley, his voice instantly gentle. "Come on, I'll take you to the clinic to get that stitched up. We don't want it getting infected." I glanced down at the field of fresh blisters on the back of my own hand and let out a bitter, silent laugh. He was so worried about Ashley's cut getting infected, but it never once occurred to him that my burn could get infected too. I walked over to the cassette recorder on my desk and pressed the stop button. It was a gift from Ethan, bought the year before Ashley arrived, to help me practice for my radio auditions. It had cost him $120. The entire conversation between me and Ashley had been recorded. I quickly packed a few changes of clothes into a bag and left a short note on the table. With the $500 from selling my training spot and the small amount of savings I had, I walked out of the place that was once my home long before Ethan got back. I took a bus to the county station and bought a ticket to the state capitol. From there, I bought an overnight ticket to Los Angeles. A few years ago, the government had legalized small private businesses, and trends like parachute pants and neon colors were starting to catch on even in our small town. In my past life, I'd heard stories about people from Riverbend who went to LA to buy clothing wholesale and ended up making a fortune. This time, with the advantage of knowing what was to come, I was going to try my luck. As I sat on the train, watching the landscape blur past my window, my heart began to pound with a wild, exhilarating rhythm. Goodbye, Ethan. I'm going to embrace my new life. When Ethan brought Ashley home from the clinic, he was surprised to find the apartment empty. Ashley, her arm now bandaged, looked weak and pale. "Ethan, is Maya mad at me? Is that why she ran off?" Ethan snorted. "She's the one who hurt you. Why does she have to be mad? Besides, I'm the only family she has. Where else can she go besides here or the pizzeria? She probably saw I was angry and went to the shop early to get on my good side." "What about the radio station spot?" Ashley asked, trailing off. "Here," Ethan said, handing her some money. "Take $50 and go buy yourself a nice outfit for the training. Come back after I've had a chance to talk to Maya. I don't want her trying to hurt you again." Ashley's face lit up, and she jumped for joy. "You're the best, Ethan. From now on, you're my real brother. I'll never forget how good you've been to me." She took the money and skipped out the door. Ethan looked at the half-eaten bucket of chicken on the table and the mess of the broken bowl still on the floor, his brow furrowed in annoyance. Couldn't even be bothered to clean up before leaving. What a waste of a good bowl of soup. After he cleaned the apartment, Ethan ate a simple dinner alone, then carefully wrapped the remaining chicken in wax paper, muttering to himself, "She just ran off without eating to make me feel sorry for her," hoping I'd bring her dinner at the shop. He walked over to my desk, intending to put the wrapped chicken in a bag to take to me. As he turned to leave, he spotted the note lying on top of the cassette recorder. "Ethan, I'm gone. From now on, just pretend you never had a sister. The truth about how Mom and Dad died is on this tape." The packet of chicken fell from his hand, hitting the floor with a soft thud. His eyes fell, and with a trembling hand, he pressed the play button. Before I left, I had turned the volume all the way up. Ashley's maniacal laughter instantly filled the small room. "Yes, your uncle saved my life. I wanted to take your brother, take your job, take everything from you." After listening to the entire recording, Ethan's legs gave out from under him. He collapsed to his knees on the floor. He stayed there for a long time before he finally, shakily, lifted his head. His face was a mask of regret, his eyes wet with tears. "Maya," he whispered, "I was wrong about you all along." He tried to stand, but his body felt like dead weight, refusing to obey. He couldn't get up. "Maya, Maya, I'm so sorry. I was so wrong." He chanted my name over and over until he finally broke, burying his face in his hands and letting out a raw, guttural sob. After arriving in Los Angeles, I started a small stall in the fashion district, selling blouses and denim jeans. In my previous life, I had heard that LA's fashion district in its heyday was the wholesale clothing capital of the entire country. Now, as it was just beginning to take shape, was the perfect time for me to get in on the ground floor. It cost $1 a day to rent a spot from a city. The first day, I made $3 in profit. The first week, I made $32. The first month, I made a grand total of $156. Staring at the cash in my hands, I couldn't help but start to cry. I had never seen so much money in my life. In my last life, I lived under my brother's roof, either helping at the pizzeria or doing chores at home, cooking, cleaning, picking up my nephew from school. In 22 years, Ethan never paid me a single dollar, only giving me a tiny bit of pocket money now and then. And even that small amount, I usually spent on my little nephew. I took the money I earned, treated myself to a huge meal at a nice restaurant, and bought 2 new outfits. For my entire, short first life, Living under someone else's thumb and crippled by insecurity, I had constantly bent over backwards, desperate for the approval of my brother and his wife. Today, for the first time, I finally knew the joy of living for myself. A year later, my small stall had become a proper storefront. Business was so good, I had to hire 2 employees. 3 years later, I bought my first condo. 5 years later, I signed a contract with a clothing factory and launched my own apparel brand. I drew on my memories from my past life, the styles I'd seen in popular 90s TV shows, and started designing my own clothes. Almost overnight, my store's inventory couldn't keep up with demand. Every morning when we opened, the new clothes that had just arrived from the factory would be snatched up by eager customers. This time, I had finally caught the wave. Through my own hard work, I had forged a path completely different from my past life. I became a brighter, more confident person. I saw my brother again in my 6th year after leaving home. It was 10 in the morning. After packing up all the wholesale orders, I told my staff to close up for a bit so I could take them out for brunch. As I turned, I saw him. He was standing a short distance away, shouldering a worn-out backpack, his eyes red as he stared at me. "Maya," he called out softly. I was surprised. "How did you find me?" "Someone from our town came here to source inventory. They saw you. So that's how—" "You haven't eaten breakfast, have you? Come on," I said, leading him to a nearby diner. Watching him devour his food like he hadn't eaten in days, I was taken aback. "What happened to you? Didn't the pizzeria make a decent profit?" Ethan shoved an entire cheeseburger patty into his mouth. "The pizzeria's been gone for years." "What? How?" I was shocked. In my past life, that pizzeria was what allowed him to save up for a down payment on a house, marry his wife, and raise their son. "After you left, I went back to our old hometown." After listening to my tape, Ethan had spent days searching for me all over Riverbend, but to no avail. When Ashley heard that he knew the truth, she disappeared as well. Desperate to find me, Ethan went back to Havenwood, to our old family house. He didn't find me, but he did find the truth from the other survivors of the flood. "Oh, your parents were good people." The water was already up to my chest. "Even your aunt wouldn't help her own daughter. I saw it with my own eyes. She climbed up that tree right over your father's back. If not for that, he wouldn't have died. Such a tragedy for you 2 kids. Is your sister doing okay? It's a miracle she survived." The guilt crashed over Ethan's heart like the floodwaters of that summer, a torrent from which he couldn't escape. He returned to Riverbend and spent 6 months searching for Ashley. When he finally found her, he beat her so badly he broke both her legs. Ashley pressed charges. Ethan was convicted of aggravated assault and sentenced to 3 years in prison. In the pizzeria, the business that had supported a family in another lifetime, was shut down for good. "Maya, Ashley told me you were the reason our parents and her mom died. That's why Ashley and I have both been punished. Can you please just forgive me one more time?" Ethan's right hand, holding his fork, trembled violently. Tears streamed down his weathered face. "What I don't understand is why you never just went back to our hometown to ask what happened. It wouldn't have been hard to find out the truth. Why did you believe Ashley so easily? Why were you willing to hurt me for her, not once but twice? After our parents died, he and I had relied on each other for 8 years. Yet, a few poisonous words from Ashley were enough for him to condemn me in his heart. Unless, from the very beginning, you believed I was responsible for their deaths." "Ethan," I said, my voice steady. "The truth is, ever since Mom and Dad died, you've always resented me." "No, Maya, that's not true." Ethan reached out to take my hand, but stopped when he saw the mottled scars on its back. "Maya, your hand." I let out a cold laugh. "A gift from you, wasn't it? I didn't mean to." "Yes, you did," I said, cutting him off. "That morning, your plan was to fall on me and let the dough sheeter crush my hand. It only failed because I moved. So you tried again, deliberately spilling a pot of boiling soup on me. Admit it, Ethan. You couldn't stand to see me have something good in my life. So there's no reason for us to see each other again. It's better for both of us." With that, I stood up to leave. "Maya." Ethan scrambled to his feet to chase after me, but he stumbled and fell to the floor. I sighed and walked back to him. I leaned down and whispered in his ear, "Actually, in another life, you succeeded." The dough sheeter took 4 of my fingers. I barely scraped by until I was 40, and I died under your cold, indifferent gaze. "Ethan, the world is a cruel place, and people can be even crueler. You've already ruined one of my lives. This time, I will never, ever forgive you." Leaving him there in a state of stunned shock, I turned and walked away. "Maya, I was really wrong, Maya." Ethan wailed at my departing back, his eyes filled with a profound despair. But he didn't leave. Instead, he started waiting outside my store every day. He would just stand there, watching me open in the morning and close at night, never saying a word. Finally, on the 3rd day, my boyfriend, Mark couldn't take it anymore. He dragged Ethan into an alley and beat him up. He didn't hold back. Ethan's head was bleeding by the time Mark was done. "You psycho. Maya doesn't want to see you. If you ever come back here again, I'll beat you every single time I see you." Mark Collins was my boyfriend. The clothing factory I had a contract with was owned by his father. He used to deliver my orders himself every day, and one thing led to another. We fell in love. It was the first time I had ever felt what it was like to be in love, the first time I understood what it meant to be truly cherished by someone. I had already accepted his proposal. We were getting married in 2 months. "So my Maya is in love?" Ethan mumbled to himself, dazed. That's good. That's good. Now I don't have to worry about her having no one to take care of her. Please, please take good care of her." Clutching his bleeding head, Ethan stumbled away. Before he left, he looked at me one last time. It was a look that contained 1,000 emotions, a look that seemed to cross mountains and rivers, sun and stars. The next day, as promised, Ethan didn't appear. It wasn't until a year later that I received a call from the police department back in Riverbend. They told me Ashley Evans was dead. Ethan had killed her. "Your brother has been sentenced to death. Do you want to come back to see him one last time?" I looked down at my 3-month pregnant belly and gently shook my head. "No, thank you. I don't want to see him." I now had a happy life I couldn't even have dreamed of in my past life, with a new family that was completely my own. Everyone walks their own path in life. This was Ethan's choice, and it had nothing to do with me. From now on, my life would only get brighter. Epilogue, Ethan's perspective. When I was 14, a flood took my parents. They were washed away, their bodies never found. My little sister, Maya, survived. She was all I had left in the world. But whenever I asked her how her parents died, she would always get flustered and say she couldn't remember. How could she not remember? I didn't believe her, but she was my only sister, so I pushed down my doubts and focused on surviving, on taking care of her. Eventually, I saved up enough money to open a small pizzeria. Our lives slowly started to get better. That was when my cousin, Ashley, showed up. Her father had kicked her out. He wanted to marry her off to a man with a limp just because he'd promised a $50 dowry. Ashley came to live with us. One day, when Maya was out, she was admiring the cassette recorder I'd bought for Maya. "You're such a good brother, Ethan," she sighed. "Even after Maya got your parents killed, you're still so good to her." The truth was finally out. From that day on, I hated her. I blamed her for every hardship I had faced over the years. I resented her, I detested her, and I felt she didn't even deserve to smile. Led by Ashley's whispers, I did something monstrous. I hurt my own sister and forced her to leave me. Only after she was gone did I learn the truth. Ashley had lied to me. She was the one responsible for my parents' deaths, not my sister. After I got out of prison, I went to Los Angeles and found Maya. She was a completely different person from the girl who had left 6 years ago. I stood across the street, just watching her. My sister, she was so bright, so confident, so capable. Why had I never seen how exceptional she was before? But of course she was. If she weren't exceptional, how would she have earned that spot in the radio training program? It was me. I was the brother who held her back. I thought Maya would forgive me, but she didn't. She leaned in close and told me that in a past life, I had been the one to ruin her hand, and she had lived a short, miserable life because of it. She had to be lying. How could anyone remember a past life? I didn't believe it. But that night, back in my cheap motel room, I had a long, detailed dream. I dreamed of my past life with Maya. It was exactly as she had described. I saw myself cause the accident with the dough sheeter that took her fingers. I saw myself force her to give the radio station spot to Ashley. Just like that, Maya, now a disabled woman, became completely dependent on me. To earn her keep, she never dared to talk back. Anyone in our house, me, my wife, even my son, could yell at her, and she would just take it. I watched as the vibrant, lovely girl I once knew slowly faded, the light in her eyes dimming until she was little more than a puppet. Right up to the day she died, I never showed her a single shred of kindness. When I woke up, I found my face was soaked with tears. It was real. Maya, and we really did have a past life, and I really did ruin it for her. My heart felt like a gaping wound, letting in an icy wind that froze the blood in my veins. I clutched my chest and sat up, gasping for breath against the headboard, refusing to accept the reality of what I had done. The next day, I went back to Maya's store. She was so alive, so radiant. Compared to the sister in my dream, it was like night and day. There were so many apologies I wanted to give her, but I knew I had long since lost the right. On the third day, Maya's boyfriend beat me up. Since she had found a new life, a new home, it was time for me to leave. As I was turning to go, I wanted to say one last thing to her. But she walked right past me with her boyfriend, not even glancing in my direction. On instinct, I reached out trying to grab the hem of her dress, but my hand closed on empty air. Back home, I drowned myself in alcohol. Shame and regret swirled in my mind every day, a constant torture. I felt like I was going insane. It was then that I saw Ashley again. The legs I had broken were long since healed. She was dressed in expensive clothes, laughing on the arm of some sleazy, middle-aged man. Why? Why, after destroying Maya's life twice, did she get to be so happy? Without a second thought, I rushed toward her, raised the beer bottle in my hand, and brought it crashing down on her head. Maya, my sister, in the next life, I'll work like an animal to pay you back.